To think purple means to think positive. It means to live every moment in the perfect balance of joy, happiness and positivity. It's the same my father used with me and my sister as we were growing up. Actually, he said it to us whenever we left the house, whenever we left the telephone conversation. He would say, "What colour is it, kiddo?" And we'd have to say, "It's purple, Dad." And he'd go, "Think purple." I was running art classes at my home, around my kitchen table, for a group of 8-year-old kids. And I just noticed how much fun they had, but also listening to some of the things that they'd say about themselves, about how they felt after they'd doing it or while they were doing it. I found that really empowering, and I saw in that moment the importance of them being able to use this creativity through their whole life. Then I started to work out of a school, doing the after school with them, and again I'm an art therapist, so I take some of those lessons that I've learned over the years as an art therapist and I implement them into other things that I do with the art program. So I did that with the schools, and again I noticed things that they were saying, you know, I'm feeling calm, I'm feeling happy, I feel really relaxed. Wow, look at this, look at what happens when this colour goes like this. You know, their imaginations just went wild. I didn't know how, I didn't know where, I didn't know how to start it. I just had a very, very clear voice in my head that said, it's time to open up the studio. And it's time to take all the lessons you've learned and things you've learned with your travelling years and the people you've met and the art, and put it into your magic. There's not one child that hasn't enjoyed colouring in or doing something. It's just as they get older, they start to judge that they're no good or they're not as good as the other person. It's as important as mathematics and English and all those other things that we're taught at school should be up there. The art has slowly got driven down, and it's ruining our children, actually, by not allowing them to, especially teenagers, by not allowing them to believe that they can enjoy creativity and create a life using their imagination.
My name is Anna Duong and I'm a primary trained school teacher, now currently working in high school as a learning and support teacher. My daughter is now 11 and she's had 2 years of art lessons with Kay. And why I love Kay's work is that it's process-based, which means that regardless of ability and regardless of where the children start at, they can follow the process and come out with a beautiful piece of work. And what makes it even more fabulous is that Kay really loves her children. She loves the work and she loves them as people. And I suppose that's what makes it so special. I'd love to see Kay's work in schools because it has an underpinning in mental health, in well-being, and it's also good artwork that children can take home and show their parents and be proud of what they can do. In Kay's class, everybody can do everything. Nobody feels left out, nobody feels left behind, and that's what I really love about Kay's work.
I have a real desire to be able to get into the school systems and promote the necessity of building emotional intelligence through children rather than focusing on the IQs. But actually what's happening is a lot of the children I've seen who are very creative are falling under the radar and are being labelled as not clever enough to, you know, they can't pass exams, they're never going to get jobs and all this thing. But actually these children are the ones that will really succeed in life if they're allowed to use that creativity and their imaginations. Learn to think outside the box with their work, problem solve using their art is a huge advantage as these kids leave school. You know, there's not the jobs we've grown up with. They have to think entrepreneurial. The only way they're going to think entrepreneurial is by using that side of their brain, and that is the creative side. If they're not creating that for them, then they are failing our children. And I would love to, it's a real desire of me to get into more and more schools with a program to help the schools understand and recognise that creativity is vital.
I'm Gillian. I am a private clinical psychologist at Coolangatta. I think people that, particularly with depression, because of depression they stop doing the things that they enjoy doing and become more isolative. and withdraw, which then makes them feel worse about everything and themselves. And just to have this so close to home can just reverse that cycle. They can just start to come to somewhere that's a safe space, that they can just feel welcome and comfortable, I suppose. And Kay has always been very welcoming and made us feel very at home here. And none of us are artists, so there's no pressure to be good or perfect. It's just to come and have a play and see what we can create. So it's just a lovely atmosphere that she's created.
It's really about creating a friendship group, and I do attract a lot of the children who aren't necessarily sporty but have a place to come and become part of a club and be within a group environment and enjoy each other's company while playing around with arts. It's about building resilience within them as they're going through various stages of their teen's life. Stuff comes up that they need to deal with. It's learning how to meditate, learning how to be mindful, learning how to create the life that they wish and desire to live. It's definitely about creating a safe space.
In our information and technology time, there is so much focus on the media, there's so much focus on what is outside of us, that I think it is great for children to have time to focus on what's inside of them. Just to relax with who they are is a really important thing to do, and art allows us to do that. If we're not practicing art, if we're not doing something that is allowing us to be who we are, we tend to focus on what other people expect of us, what the media expects of us, what advertising tells us to do, to feel, and what our peers are up to. So that can be detrimental. So without art, we don't have that little bit of time to practice just being who we are. We need art.
And actually, a lot of adults who come to me and say, oh, I can't possibly do art, I'm no good at art, and this whole fear comes up within them. And I just go, hang on a minute, it's just about playing, so come with me and let's just see what we can do with these paints and just see how much you enjoy from doing it. Because you're here for a reason, you know, and all this sort of stuff comes through.
I think it's a process, I suppose. It doesn't happen overnight, but I guess it's just these little experiences that just start to shift their mindset that, you know, change is possible, and it's very relaxing, and they start to focus just on one thing and not about all their worries about the future or what has happened in the past. They're just really in the present moment. So they just, even if it's just 2 hours of just being in present, can be really helpful for them. And then that just builds a foundation that it is possible and they can do it again. And just getting out of their normal sort of day-to-day kind of routine is nice as well. And to be amongst other people, that social connection and have interaction with other people is really valuable as well.
Hi, I'm Elaine, and this is my son Nathan. And Nathan is a young man, 28, with Down syndrome and autism. And we met the lovely Kay Lloyd and Think Purple Art Studio many years ago when Kay came to a childcare centre that I worked at. And so you tell me a bit about what you love about the art when you draw and paint.
It's fun and passion and having a joyful time.
A joyful, that's a good one, a joyful time.
Where to come here, it's about joyful happiness and having a wonderful time with the other people to join.
What you think about in your mind you can put on to paper.
Yes.
Or canvas.
Yes.
And it is really nice because sometimes when you have a child with a disability, you tend to speak for them, to help them out. But as time goes on, you realise that that can be a bit of a deficit. So to get Nathan out into
the world,
the art world, it's very therapeutic.
This is also a group where I integrate working with NDIS participants for their social support, community participation. So I very much integrate the whole group together. Some will come with their support workers, and the support worker generally will stay and play and do the art together. It's a really fun, safe, friendly, non-judgmental, unpretentious space.
This is a lovely adjunct to therapy. You know, like it's just a really nice way for them to learn how to be in the moment, just be really mindful of what we're doing in the present moment, and to be non-judgmental and just sort of see what happens.
These are amazing to do with your child. I've had mums come with their kids, I've had dads come with their kids, grandparents have come, uncles have come and nieces. It's been great, but the whole idea of it is they work together to create a canvas with each on an easel together. And the reason I love this is because it's really insightful as to how you actually are as a parent almost. You might find that a lot of inner conflict comes up with what you're actually doing at the easel together. Are you sharing the space? You know, is dad interfering with what you're doing? Are you not working together as a team? Are you being a control freak? Are you thinking, I want to take over this piece? You know, so it's about building a beautiful relationship with your child, or and coming out with an amazing artwork to display on the wall at home. And I've had children talk to me and tell me how much they loved spending that one-on-one time with their parent in a different setting to what they do. It was fun, and they've just left feeling really connected with their parent or grandparent even.
I find that art is a stimulant, and it's a stimulant that you don't have to be a good artist, you don't have to be a great artist, but like Nathan, you can get your emotions out onto the canvas or the paper or whatever medium you're using. So the adaptation to the human race, to understand how to read people.
To think purple means to think positive, and if that could be something that people recognise moving forward, I think it's just something that triggers, that when you hear it will trigger that, okay, I've got to think more positive, I've got to think happier thoughts, I've got to stop being negative and think purple.